one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice that this meeting has been provided as is required by Chapter 231, Code of Law 1975, with respect to the Home News Tribune to publish the same. This announcement must be entered into the minutes of the meeting. For those attending the meeting today, please be aware that all board meetings are recorded via audio. Roll call, Marie.
Chairman Engel?
Here.
Commissioner Franklin?
Present.
Commissioner Dunn?
Here.
Commissioner Moskowitz?
Present.
Commissioner Galloway? Commissioner Benjamin?
Are we ready, Shirley?
Yes. So I have two challenges here. They are for Piscataway early voting. You wanna read it? The first one, and this is the second one.
Were you withdrawing one of those, Counselor?
Yeah, I'm withdrawing the Lenny Washington complaint challenge. We discovered that student housing actually has 12-month contracts. There are actually grad students in there. So
Yeah, you can withdraw this one.
yeah,
So the other one is
Thank you.
a challenge by Jennifer Johnson
yes.
of a voter named Amir Bay, 617 Hose Lane, and the reason for the challenge listed is advertising full property for rent. You want to explain the challenge?
Yeah, I represent the town of Piscataway with Raj Cooney. I apologize. The Piscataway Dem Ward and also Jennifer Johnson. So I have copies of a posting that Mr. Bay posted in Crown Chicken, Piscataway, for advertising advertising property for rent, the full property for rent, and that picture was taken late last year. Also, Mr. Big is the same individual that actually, we had a court hearing in 2019 in regard to his petition to be a township committee candidate. I don't know if any of the commissioners remember, but Mr. Big actually admitted in court that he had registered in Essex County without ever residing in that county, and also that he admitted that he hadn't moved into the property, and the court made that determination when he tried to attempt to file a petition falsely to become a committee member. So I have copies of the transcripts that the committee would like to see. Yeah, unfortunately I ran out of time, so I couldn't make it. Yeah.
Do you have a page that shows that it's in the post?
Excuse me?
But this doesn't say who the person is.
Whom you were speaking.
Oh, my apologies in my rush, I didn't print it out. This is Mr. Big. I can affirm that as I was present and actually asking the question.
So this doesn't relate to this, well, I can see this
No.
relates to Essex County.
This just relates to the first few pages are Essex County showing that he fraudulently registered to vote. The last page shows that he didn't reside at 617 Hose Lane at the time he filed the petition to become a committee member.
Okay, it just says the point he didn't reside in the home till April 12th. I don't
Yes.
know what.
And then in regard to that, April 12th was, there was a petition to be a township committee member. There was a deadline in March, April. The court determined that he had not resided in the property or actually purchased the property prior to signing a statement saying that he resided there. The transcript, I can provide a full transcript to the commissioners after, at later time. I just wanted to print the pertinent pages. But it goes to the credibility of the individual, plus the fact that he's actually advertising the entire property for rent.
What year is this? Is this
That's
year?
2019,
This is 2019.
yes.
Okay. No. Do we know it was rented? Do you know he wasn't living there?
Unfortunately, I had a very short time period between this morning
Okay.
and now, so this is all the information I have. Between,
And where was the sale? I'm sorry, where was the sale?
it was at Crown Chicken on Stelton Road in Piscataway.
It was in a retail establishment.
It was a house restaurant.
We don't know how long that ad was on there.
No, I do not know.
Is it extended?
No, it's saying that he doesn't live there.
Just a little.
That it's
Can I help you?
it's listed for rent. Unless we have something that shows he's not there. Did anyone knock on the door? Is there anybody living there?
We didn't have time to,
No, I understand that.
yeah.
But I don't, may I speak? As far as I'm concerned, I'm not gonna disenfranchise a voter based on the fact that he was wanting to rent the place. You don't know whether he rented it or when, whether he's still there. This from 2019 tells me nothing about this address.
Yeah, I'm presenting what I have to the.
No,
So,
I fully understand, and I fully understand the exigencies of the time. But still based on what you've been able to find in that period of time, I would not be comfortable in voting to disenfranchise that voter. In other words, I would accept the ballot.
I'd like to, up to the commissioners, I
Yeah.
appreciate you considering it.
No,
I would just like to point out, that again, it's not a room for rent, it's the whole house for rent. He would not be residing there if he's renting it to tenants.
No, but he could be
Be
moving
advertising.
out, he could be advertising it for it when he moves out.
Yes, and I unfortunately don't have that information.
I
as to when.
understand.
Nor do we.
He's presenting as much facts
Yes,
as he
and
has.
it's,
Make a decision.
it is not I understand council's dilemma, and I've been in that position before as well. You take what you got,
Exactly.
and we have to decide based on what we got.
Understood.
So there were only two copies.
I move we reject the challenge and accept the ballot.
And I just wanted to confirm, because I made that mistake earlier, I represent the Dem ward, not the township in this matter.
You made a motion, did you?
Yes.
Commissioner? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Mary.
Chairman Engel?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin?
I'm sure it's got to be changed.
Yes, to reject.
Commissioner Cast?
Yes, to accept.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes, to accept the ballot.
Yeah, I'll try to reject the check.
You reject
Yes,
the
to
challenge.
reject the
Rejecting the
challenge.
Oh, we're voting on the challenge.
Yes.
We're voting on the acceptance.
Either one.
That's-
Well, okay. I think my motion, I don't know. Let's go now. Okay. Why don't we just say yes if you want to accept the ballot and start again?
Chairman Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin?
Yes, to accept.
Commissioner Cast?
Yes to accept.
Commissioner Wilson?
The only reason this ballot got into question was because someone saw this ad.
Yes.
Nothing happened at the polling booth, no questioning of his. He came in with all the appropriate materials.
Not that I'm aware of, we weren't able to.
So you just
this is-
challenged it based on the
Well,
advertisement.
this would be a provisional.
The advertising
Yeah,
aspect
this-
that he's twice fraudulently represented that he's lived at certain addresses and he
I
doesn't.
do understand that, and I believe that you're probably correct in that, but I don't have enough evidence in front of me, unfortunately, to support that. So I am going to vote to accept that. But that was the motion.
Yes.
That's it, my challenge.
That's it. Right now.
No, I think then it's clear.
So we have a challenge form, the form that was written out, anybody?
No,
Wasn't required.
would you want this number?
That's on my your table, if you could shift back a little, we're gonna need that table.
Thank you.
You guys might wanna move, it's gonna shine right on your table. We're gonna project on the wall. Show you how to, can you grab that paper from this side? Look at it when you put it down. You gotta figure out.
We only had one, I thought.
So you can do
We
it
only
sideways.
have one?
Okay, sideways, and it shows the right way in there. Unless you use this. It's kind of hard to get it, you know, see, you can have
It's
to
fine
just,
the way it was.
I need washroom.
I have to do it sideways so they won't be able to see it.
no, you're gonna do it, you're gonna put it in sideways, and then it goes the right way.
Okay, got it.
Okay?
Alright.
Okay, I'm gonna go through the hold for commissioners, the other categories, go through the signatures afterwards. And I also have, the counts, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, these are the Republicans. There's one party privilege date too late. We've gone too fast. There's 8 voted wrong party. And 1 no ballot opposed,
Remind me again, they voted the wrong party.
where they are declaring the opposite.
They
party.
wrote on it at the end, well, the other party.
Yes.
Right. Shall we do the Republicans first, or should we just go?
That's
We
fine.
just did the Republicans.
No, but you vote, we just,
Oh, okay.
go ahead. Go ahead, we'll do it once.
All right. These are the
Put
Dems.
them over here.
There's 16 voted wrong party. 2 voted both ballots. 1 missing cert. 15 incomplete bearer portion. 4 no ballot enclosed. 2 party privilege too late. And 1 in with supplies. And there's 3 wrong election.
They saved their ballot from another election.
Yes.
essentially. Okay, I move we reject all the ballots listed that are listed in those categories. Or
We have more.
Sorry,
Dr.
I withdraw the
Julian.
motion, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So we have 1 no ballot enclosed. 3 voted both ballots. 2 found in with the provisional bags. 1 incomplete bearer portion. 2 did not declare party. 1 moved out of county. And, not this one. Oh, 14 voted both ballots. Now, we have some marked ballots here as well. That you have to look at. So we have,
The actual physical ballot was, the vote by mail was in the provisional bag, is that?
yes,
And because it wasn't mailed, we cannot be assured that it was still
The law does not allow the person to return their vote by mail ballot at the polling place.
That is correct, I did know that.
And that's what I
Didn't
did.
remember that. Thank you.
So I'm going to do 2 things. One, I'm going to make a motion that we reject all the ballots in those categories listed. And second, I want to make sure that the poll clerks who accepted those vote by mail ballots at polls be notified or
sent a letter.
sent a letter.
Can I just add to that, send a letter saying they will be trained again?
Whatever we technically we do, we should.
Valerie, is that right? Okay, so it's not just sending a letter bad, it's sending a letter you're gonna be retrained, otherwise you're not working again.
Yeah, make sure you put in your work.
That's what we need.
Okay.
Okay, we have marked ballots here.
We're gonna vote.
Oh,
Motion,
I'm sorry.
I'll second that motion.
Chairman Emerson?
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Katz?
Yes.
Commissioner Moskowitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Jallo?
Yes.
So we have 26 Dem marked ballots and 6 Republican marked ballots. We have to put them under the, envelope.
So then, can you shut the lights, see if it's better?
These are the Dems, so you just take it out so that they can see.
It's get to the side of it, so you can see it.
Okay.
Or, we had set up, in terms of marked ballots, sort of a
Scale.
scale
Yeah,
and
that's-
a list of things. Are these outside the,
I didn't look at it.
okay.
Mark, get it, yeah, Mark.
Marked.
When they write a letter on a ballot, that's it. We just, if anyone, I think if anyone objects to whoever says it's marked or not marked,
No, we
we
just-
should raise it.
Yes,
I believe that's an
Drawing.
initial. The voter's initial.
yes, correct,
That's a reject.
yes, correct.
Voter's initial again. That's a reject.
Reject.
That is the procedure, if they, even though it's typical when you make a correction, you cross it out and initial it, and you initial it, you make it. That's been a.
Yes, yes,
His name is on here.
Okay.
Under, the voter's name.
but even though they're moving rules, they can't reject the ballot. Where is it?
It's on the back. Goes on the back. It's in my thing.
Did they just vote for it?
Yeah, they just throw the voter vote.
That's an overvote.
That's an over.
Right? You rejected it, I'm
No, they
sure.
put vote Republican at the top. I'm just saying, there's a,
Oh, they wrote it at the
Statement,
top.
vote Republican. Yes, no?
It's an overvote for every office anyway.
So it's gonna be rejected.
But is the ballot gonna be,
I agree. Do
the
we
ballot's gonna
accept?
go through as a ballot.
Let's be
It's not
consistent and say no.
it's okay.
I'm
Okay,
gonna say
reject it.
no.
Yeah, that's fine. It's actually, it's not. It's not.
Just, I can never match you.
It's not gonna clear. Is it the name tag?
Reject.
Huh? Reject?
yes.
Reject?
I need that paper with that. No, that one. These are Dems, those are Dems.
Let's see.
This is what we just gave. Okay, we're gonna write out.
Right out.
It's white out?
Yeah. Right out here.
They marked out the ballot.
It's over here too.
How else would they correct it?
You can't see the
It's
white
white
out.
out.
The last one, Lincoln, on the bottom, it's white, it's white out.
It's here.
You can't write anything, so.
Because they probably put it over for
I would actually accept that.
I didn't know they make one.
That can go through the machine, right, with
Yeah.
whiteout?
You could, yeah.
I think we should.
I think we should accept that. You okay with that?
Initials?
Yes.
3 and 5. That's a good one. Reject. That's is
That mark on the ballot?
Signature?
Is it one of those things that protect your privacy? Those,
for the tire track?
it sure is. You know, it's like stamp that you block out your name and address and everything, that's what it is. They blocked it up, they used it.
What about the rest of the ballot?
It's
Can I
clean.
see?
Can you put that back underneath? No, under the camera.
Oh, sorry. So we're keeping.
It's one of those
That's the
things.
rest of the
that-
ballot?
The ballot itself.
Whole ballot.
The rest of
Ballot.
that's fine.
Look at the
Ballot.
ballot.
When the voting.
Okay.
They wanted to see,
Go down, keep going slowly. There you go, there you go.
so there was no writing.
So what, is that an actual stamp?
Mr., it's, you know when you buy the stamp and you have your name and address
Could I
and you
see
run that
this?
stamp
Can I
over,
just-
so you can't read it, it's just
Just have
protect
it
your information. That's what it is. I don't know
What would
what it's
be the
called.
purpose of that on the corner of the page?
They were probably testing it. Because I wanted to get it when we have to redact information. It's kind of cool, actually. It's
We're
probably done.
consistent.
Yeah, I agree. It's
We're gonna be consistent.
Remake it.
What's he gonna do
We would
next
have to,
time?
if you
So
accept
he
it, we would
accepts
have to remake it.
Remake it.
Change it. Now it's on the timestamp.
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure why it was, but I think it's a reject.
You rejected it?
Would this have any issue going through the machine?
Yes, you probably have to remake, I think you'd have to remake that, right?
I have to look and see if it's covered.
You have to
Right,
remake
so
it.
where that stamp is would cause issues with the ballot? So it's not like de minimis in the corner or,
Yeah, we can't read those black check marks.
okay, all
It's a word.
right. I agree with rejected then,
Yeah.
Oh, just.
based on that.
Two, wait, what, three rejects? Okay. So rejected.
I don't know, I think it'll go forever.
That's an initial
Initial?
reject.
Reject.
So wait. Machine would count that?
That's why we look at it. That's why
Oh.
we look at
Would
it.
it kick
This
it
is
out?
being rejected?
No, hold on.
Hold it for a sec, can you put it back on the thing?
Yeah, that should be.
They didn't write on it, they
It'll
just,
go through the machine.
They just
It would go
crossed
through
out.
the machine.
they
Yeah.
pressed that one vote.
Mistake.
Yeah, just go through the machine.
It'll go through the machine.
That's
So
gonna
this is
count that
accepted?
vote, even if it's the X cross out, yeah.
That's just a minute.
And what?
Accept that.
Because the machine is looking for what's in the circle.
Yeah, circle, so it'll count the circle.
You're looking at it as a marked ballot. You consider this a marked ballot. Things like this you didn't mark last time as a marked ballot.
He didn't say it was marked ballot last time, right?
When there are X's and things crossed out, you guys
Accepted it, right.
Last year.
We should accept it.
Then we can be consistent, I'll accept it.
Okay.
Same thing.
And we're doing the same thing.
What about the top? Anything else?
Right there at the top. Do it.
No, it's good.
All right.
Good? All right, and what, accept? Okay, accept.
Well, okay, we accept it, but should we, what about remaking those ballots, eliminating the person that they
I don't think we
fixed
should,
off?
I don't
It
think we should.
doesn't
What's
require
the
it to
intent of
be
the
remade.
voter?
It doesn't require it to be remade.
But they'll be, those, the ones where there are X's,
It's not-
it's still a
it's
circle, they're still circled, that'll be counted as
If
a
it's a
no.
vote for one, it's to be an overvote.
I think that's a committee man, and committee woman, what is that for? The other one was not.
You never put it up, so-
No, I don't know, no, you don't have to put the
It's a
other.
vote for two, and it's a vote for four. They voted for vote four. They crossed these two
Okay,
off.
so that's an overvote,
So
that's
it's
all
an
right, okay, that's okay.
Cap there. Oh,
Okay.
Just in case you don't know what to do with your phone.
What was that one? What does it say?
Reject.
What does it say?
None of the above or something like that. I
The person, the voter's
Can't
name.
say,
Okay,
definitely,
name on it.
definitely Mark.
The writing, okay, to me,
Yeah, it looks like it was something combination. Initial.
Ditto.
Right.
right, initials and stuff, why? Why'd you just make it
I
say?
just want to see it. I don't just want to make it. We'll see it before we
Okay,
finish.
space.
Okay.
Do not, do not reject.
Reject.
Consent error.
Initials again.
Where? Oh. Okay, sorry.
Reject.
Reject.
Uh-huh.
Reject.
This is crazy. Everything on fully manual.
Thousands and
Right.
thousands and thousands of people. That's an initial again.
That one letter? It's just the one letter?
Stop there, stop.
Yeah.
That's a weak, yeah, that's initials.
Reject.
I know we have to be consistent.
Reject.
Oh, and they wrote on it too.
That's it? Okay.
Should we make a motion to formally reject everything in the file?
We just rejected.
We have,
one.
Yeah, keep,
As we weren't all recorded. Some
No,
of
we
you-
don't want one.
we don't want one of them.
That's typically how we've done it. Good.
I'll make a motion to formally reject what was in the file.
Okay, second.
Commissioner Terminator,
Almost reject all of them.
Terminator,
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin.
Yes.
Commissioner Cast.
Yes.
Commissioner Mossberg.
yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Okay, before we do the signatures that do not match, I wanted to go over the provisionals, both for commissioners, okay? They're by category and,
We have people that are still out there. Have they finished working? Because if they're not finished working, how do we know they won't be meeting Wednesday?
How do we know?
Another meeting scheduled.
You have another meeting scheduled. It's one of your emails, to your email back to April was that we won't have to have a meeting on Wednesday.
We would need it if necessary.
Oh,
Because we're doing all the provisionals today.
I know, but we won't, only if they finish before we finish.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have another meeting, like you say, if Mark Ballots ready. They might be done by the time we're.
Okay, if it is, we may or may not have another meeting depending on how fast they finish.
Yes.
And how fast we finish.
okay. These are the Dems provisionals. So we have voted wrong party Dem. We have 50. Voted mail-in ballot, there's 140.
Voted what, I'm sorry? I
They
didn't-
Mail
voted the
ballots.
mail-in ballot and they came and they voted provisional.
Got it.
Did you get these, Kathy? I have to go over this. I was at one of these. No, I didn't. They have certain ones. Is it really? Any of these? These are your certain signs. I'm gonna skip over this one. I have to look through them. They put them together. Okay. Voted the machine, 6. No ballot enclosed, 1. Voted 2 ballots, 2. Not registered, 11. Party change too late, 19. Registered too late, 1. 2 ballots enclosed, 40.
These are provisionals, so the poll clerks gave them 2 ballots?
That's what I said.
I guess that's what they did. I don't, it says, oh, no,
How did they get them registered?
I know what this is. They were supposed to pull these out. So the poll workers allowed them to go to the machine to vote the provisional, plus they gave them the paper ballot. That's what this is. You're
That's
supposed to
the
look
same
at these
thing,
separately.
we gotta make sure these poll clerks are, get the letter and be trained.
Valerie. It's just that it doesn't make sense.
There was one of that before voted 2 ballots.
Did I give you not registered for you? Huh? Yes. Oh. Party change too late, 19. I gave you that?
Yes.
Registered too late? Okay. Exposed ballot, 24. Where's this? It's 8:40. That don't belong here. These don't. These are the Republicans voted wrong party. There's 83. 83, wow.
Maybe they changed the
Voted the machine. There's 4. Not registered, 4. Party too late, 16. Registered too late, 1. Voted mail-in ballot, 63. Incomplete cert, 7. Voted 2 ballots, 2. Let me count these. These are the same things for voted, 2 ballots. There's one that
As
I
all
voted
the, all the ones that have, they've got 2 ballots, provisional ballots, that's the same thing, they're all poll clerks. Correct.
There's one that I have a question on, but I don't see it. I'm gonna have to go through it. That's the one where the voter went to the machine and she wanted to cancel her vote and the poll worker came and casted her vote. So he sends her back to do a provisional. and we wanted to see if it could be counted or not.
She cast
The poll worker,
Cast
When you,
the vote.
when you
yes.
go, when you go to the, and you want to have your ballot rejected from the machine, you can hit quit. And so at that point, it calls
You
the
gotta
poll
look for
worker
it,
in
because
to,
that's the one that I need.
to put in the code so it can come out.
And they
But the
said they
poll
were
worker
mistaken.
came in and proceeded to cast the ballot.
that vote.
But they alerted you so that you knew
Someone.
count one fewer.
What's that?
So if they alerted you to the error, had to clarify that on the
Yes.
machine.
The ballot was cast.
Ballot on the machine was
But
counted.
the voter didn't cast it.
Just the voter voted.
So it should not what?
Sorry about it.
It was still cast.
It was still
And I
cast,
repeat, voters did not cast that vote. So it's not.
but we don't know why the voter
Once
didn't
it's
cast
passed
it.
into the machine, I
Because
think
all these votes were pressed, the buttons were
Have to have
pressed.
one of these to the
It's not
side.
that, but the voters still didn't cast the vote. It's a poll worker.
They need a cure
So
letter.
I don't understand why that's not an exception.
Just look here.
Clarifying the actual
Story
vote.
about
I had a tie once in one election, one vote would have made a big
Yeah,
difference, I
that
don't
vote-
get it.
That vote is already being counted. And it was a voter that did, even if the voter made a subsequent mistake, or the voter.
The voter didn't cast it, it was the poll
But
worker.
it's been cast, and it's on the machine, it's counted, it's in the
That's
total
right,
count.
anyway.
Of course it is, because the poll worker cast the ballot. So the total count is incorrect because the voter
Do you
didn't
know
vote.
what town it was?
So I don't get it.
The voter-
Jim, how did you become aware that this took place?
The
I
board
found it.
called
Okay.
the board office to obviously complain.
The voter public works?
Yes.
And then I'm assuming that at some point the poll worker was contacted?
That they should be issued a we said just issue a provisional ballot on our commissioners.
Did the poll worker make a statement or verify that they are the ones who pressed the button?
So that's two votes.
We got a verification of the poll worker that they said that they cast the ballot.
'Cause I mean, we're taking that as fact when the poll worker may say, no, this person pressed the button.
Do you remember the discussion when we had?
That we were asked, to go back to the professional and bring it to the commissioners to review.
We don't have a statement from the poll worker saying that they can't.
We had it from the voter.
So now we had one vote ballot that the voter did not, one
said she's
voted
gonna leave
machine
them
that
over
the
here.
voter did not cast.
That the voter said.
That you are
they didn't
counting.
cast.
And now we're getting another provisional,
The poll worker was
No.
new,
No.
and her response was, oh,
But
I'm new.
these need, she said they need to.
I don't want to point, I'm not blaming
So I'll have to
you
look
yet,
at them
I'll do
after.
that separately. What I'm saying is, there are two votes. One person had two votes. Whatever the error
I'll look
was,
at them
there are
after.
two votes,
Don't
one's
mix
in the
them.
machine and one's in front of us. And I don't think that's correct.
I think we had counted provisional.
I-
This doesn't
Well,
say.
why would you count the one that she didn't count?
Because it's counted
It's in
already.
a machine
There's no way to take, there's no way to identify that
Is
vote.
it me, am I
There's
crazy?
no way to identify that vote, and it's counted.
She told the poll worker that she had the wrong.
There's nothing on here that references that.
Chairman? Yep. She told the poll worker that the vote that was on this tablet was incorrect. So both she and the poll worker obviously knew what that vote was. But we are counting that vote that she didn't want and she didn't cast, as well as this vote that you're now gonna try to discredit, and that's the one she did want. I don't get it. Why you would do that.
We have no idea,
We were told
we have no idea what the buttons that were pressed on the machine were.
But we
We
know
have
that
no
there
idea
was
whether,
an error and
maybe there
you
was one, maybe there
decided
was one
to
vote
give
that
her
was
another
different.
ballot.
Maybe there was one vote that was different and all the others were the same. So in that instance, this particular voter gets 2 votes for those candidates?
Would you call for help?
In this instance, I wouldn't want to give 2 votes for that reasoning.
Karen? What do we do in the instance where a voter votes on the machine, presses the button and says, I made a mistake? Do they get a provision?
No.
No. So the only reason they got a provisional in this instance is because they alleged that the poll worker pressed it. Is that correct? But we don't have any evidence before us that that is in fact true, right? The poll worker did not say, yeah, I pressed it, that was my bad.
I didn't speak to the poll worker.
So I don't know how we could make that decision without all the facts in front of us, with all that.
The decision of giving her a provisional, the decision of accepting a provisional.
The decision of accepting.
Provisional. It's always appropriate to give someone a provisional ballot.
Agreed. I don't know how we can accept it if we don't know that it's not the
But
occurrence
that's right,
of the
that's
first instance that I gave.
It's the absence of information,
Right.
so the absence of information, we have to reject it,
Fair enough.
because we don't have
Right.
the information. So,
I'm rejecting.
I would vote to.
I'm rejecting it.
Yeah.
Where was that about?
Saraville, there's no, on a practical basis, it's not going to affect any election,
It's not-
on a practical basis, but that's
I
not
got it,
what
but
we're doing.
it's correct.
Sharon, is that the bulk of it?
Yes.
I don't know if we might have a discussion about the two ballots. The one where the poll worker gave the ballot card and the paper provisional ballot.
Better to have it now, you mean, before.
If you're, and again, for all the ones that Sharon discussed, I don't know if you want to have a discussion whether, again, it wasn't the voters' fault that the poll worker gave them two forms, so I don't know if you would be willing to, if the ballot card and the paper provisional ballot choices match, to accept the ballot card as the voters' vote.
Okay, we're saying that the poll clerk made a mistake, gave both to them. So if the vote is consistent on both, identical on both, I would accept one of them.
This is what we.
No, if they're identical, we have both.
What do you mean you have
No,
both?
no,
We didn't
this
have
is the
one yet,
situation.
but
The
last
poll
election,
clerk,
because
for
we
some
didn't
reason, the poll clerk
I got that.
gave both the ballot card, which was really marked on the machine, not cast on the machine, because it was a provisional, and a paper provisional, both of which apparently ended up in one envelope.
Yes.
So
Both apply.
both the ballot card, which was marked on the machine, plus the paper by
Then
the
it wouldn't
brothers.
have mattered that she pushed the button.
No,
It
no, no,
was
no,
in the
no, no,
machine.
no, that was not, if it's a provisional ballot, if it was a provisional ballot in the machine is really just a marking device, not a counting device for the provisionals.
They're identical.
All right? If they are totally identical, I would count one, which would be the card, I guess.
Right.
Commissioner, you want to make a motion on that particular?
On that
ballot?
issue, I would move that in the event, in this situation, in the event that both ballots are exactly identical, that we count one of them, because the mistake was by the poll clerk giving it to them, and you can tell that it's the same. So we're not disenfranchising the voter for a poll clerk error unless it's necessary to do so because
I am not pleased with this discussion. I understand that the poll clerk hit something on that machine that put the ballot into count. Is that accurate?
No.
So what did the poll
no.
clerk physically do that made that
The
count?
poll clerk handed two pieces of paper to the particular voter.
Can we
One
show
piece of
them?
Will you explain to me that,
Can we show you
One second.
what we're talking about? We're gonna physically show you. Can we find one?
So the poll worker and Sharon's
wait,
gonna-
the voter went in,
Yeah.
she called the poll worker and said, I made a
No,
mistake.
no,
No,
different.
no, this is a different
Orthodox
issue.
subject,
This is a different thing,
That's it.
We're on a
Different category.
different category.
Sharon is
Just
gonna
the
show you.
paper.
You gave him a printed one? Yeah, so you gave him a machine one.
And
Two provisionals.
And they're both provisional ballots
Ballots.
that the voter was given to complete at the polling location.
and she
So
completed
they
both.
gave them, right, the paper
That she
ballot.
completed both. It has nothing to do with the other story.
There was a
No.
couple.
Right, and I- still sitting, and I apologize to the public.
Yeah,
They're the same exact.
Oh, my God, but didn't it sound like two?
I second your motion, just for the record.
Maria?
Maria? Yes, to count one.
Chairman Engel? Commissioner Frank?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
yes.
So we're only counting one?
Yes.
As long as the two ballots are identical.
Yes.
And that's another list of poll workers that have to.
Yes, correct. And do you want to make a motion then on all the other ballots that Sharon had read?
Yeah, I thought that was,
Do you-
that was intended. Oh, on the entire list, okay.
Absent the
Right,
one we just.
right. In terms of what, the provisional ballots in the different categories that were to be rejected, I move that we reject them.
Second.
Chairman Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Frank?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Tucci?
Yes.
Mr. Urban. Mr. Urban?
Oh, yes, I think there were 24 ballots that were described as exposed ballots. I was just confused as to what that meant.
Yes.
He wants to know what.
An exposed
ballot.
ballot
Oh, there
means
was
that
no,
the ballot was not in a
affirmation.
sealed envelope. Either the ballot was just there, not put in an envelope, or an envelope that was open.
Tom, are these different from the ones where the bags weren't sealed?
Yes.
Yes.
If I said it wrong,
Sharon, are you doing signatures now for?
No.
Very cool.
these are signatures.
Got more there. I don't know the number of ones, because there's more over there. They're in the back.
I know, like, you know what, I'm really hot dogs. I know the salad. See, we feed you well.
Good hot dog.
Hamburgers there. I'm not sure if.
Next time we gotta get some shish kebab and the skewers.
Now that I know we're playing this game, I'm in.
Or you gotta get your smoker, next time you get
Yeah.
a smoker. Now we take over the whole building, we know what to do.
There you go.
Are those all in one, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna have full-time staff work on it. They come.
This was from the testimony.
It's just double weighted one. Put it in the pile for
Right.
garbage.
Oh, okay. Signature doesn't match? Is this all, just one for this
Yeah,
one?
just one front of the.
This is an unaffiliated.
It looks like it's the system. See?
No, she put it underneath the, oh no. Can they see it?
Blurry. That
Oh,
was-
because they declared. Okay,
Blurry.
thank you.
Okay. where it
Little bit
says
down
sign,
further.
we don't,
Sorry.
The assistant probably signed it.
Right.
no, where it says sign here. It's really not awful.
Do we have more than one signature for that voter?
Well, yeah, it's not terrible.
The assistant.
And look how neat the printing is from the assistant person, so. They had a fudge on it. Did you have another one or not really?
It's slow.
No.
Yeah, well, if that's
That's
their
both,
age, then they suddenly got better. It's that way. If it was the other way around, I might be more benefited out perhaps. No, I think it's probably reject, but I want to see if there's another signature.
It's not coming up.
Okay.
It's very slow.
So we'll check.
Mind the person coming behind you go
Voter name.
based on her birthday?
What do you think? I kind
I
of,
think that's the only signature I think we should.
I don't know yet.
Oh, then we're just waiting until.
Yeah.
It's like the assistant.
I think nothing.
Two lasers.
Sorry.
Suddenly they go from a shaky
Like the two
signature
lasers.
to a
Everybody's
good
so large
signature.
for a Republican, it's great.
It's a primary election.
I'm just kidding.
It's a primary election in Monroe Township, but there was no local no candidate.
I'm assuming we take this job seriously, is that what you're saying?
That's true. That's crazy, right?
Did you guys,
We're trying to see if there's other signature
Yeah,
about it.
they're voting for
No,
them.
I mean, they were.
that's okay, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
Reject.
Here we go.
Wait.
Is it almost there?
No. She can't get it there.
They're getting a cure letter.
They are?
They didn't get one,
Okay.
so let's just.
We didn't receive it back yet.
Yeah.
It was sent out, the
Even
7th.
if a cure letter comes back, it can be accepted.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Reject.
When did you pass that?
Is that it?
I thought there were a lot of.
I don't think so.
I just wanted to get the town's vision.
That's so far through, we only have both on minute, right?
Ron's got nothing there.
A lot.
No, it's signed on his
It's not, obviously, but it's not registered there, that's an reject. You need to find out who it was.
I have to give her a call and ask why she's signing other people's.
Did you move to those guys with the vote?
I can make a little.
This is gonna take forever.
Bills, stickies with them.
Did you get to the part where you read Middlesex? Celebration of Middlesex.
They are. He's 100% correct.
I don't know what awful thing to say.
But he
You went to,
the man that had.
Paper over now.
Huh?
Use the paper now, use the way.
the other way.
It's in July.
It's not coming up.
Is this the system that says SVRS is
It's not
slow?
coming up.
What is it?
No, I think it's the Wi-Fi connection.
What's the name?
What are we on?
What's the name?
Turn.
William?
Do that, the car.
Yeah.
toss it to the bags and then pick it up while
Yeah.
Commissioners, we had 4 provisional bags that came back on election night. They were unsealed. They were set aside by staff. 2 from Woodbridge, 2 from Piscataway. Bags been left as they were, as they came in, so you can see them in condition and make your determination. So, the first one is from Woodbridge Hopalong Engine Company number 1. Bag. The paperwork wasn't filled out by the coworker.
It wasn't filled out.
Wasn't filled out at all.
The paperwork wasn't filled out?
Paperwork wasn't filled out by the poll worker. The red tape is on the seal, which is fine, but the tag here, put a tag there off and put it in. Alright. And then it's, as you can see on most of the bags, it's red.
How many provisionals?
We don't, we have no.
That's, well, look at the rest of it.
There are some in.
No, we should take each bag by
You want to
itself.
do it separately?
Each bag
Okay,
separately.
okay. This is the way, this is what I think, all right? I think we, to be consistent with what we've done before, we have to reject it because it's really a chain of custody issue and a question about whether that was open or not. So I think we have to reject it consistently. But for these purposes, because at least in the Piscataway, we have a potential contest, whether it's in this ward or not, it's close. I think we should open the bag, not the ballot, count the number of ballots that were cast as a Republican and Democrat, and write down the names of the people that voted in. That's it. Don't open anything. But past that point, so it's on the record, and leave that as public record to anybody, either parties that want to look, see what that is. All right, so that they can.
Well, I don't know about that, because you're looking at, in this case, we only have 4 situations.
Yes.
Okay? In another election, you could have 54 situations.
Right.
Okay? So my point is, your point is saying, in this particular case, that seal is not there. This seal is not there.
Right.
So we should look at that bag, that seal not there, that is compromised.
Yes.
Okay? But you're not gonna open up the ballots here.
No, we're not opening the ballots.
Oh, no, you're not taking the
Right.
ballots out of there either.
Correct.
We could do a count.
We can do a count without doing anything in connection with the secrecy of the ballots. We can identify how many ballots there were, which party they were, and the names, but nothing's open.
Is that
We're
what
not
you
counting
done?
anything.
Written down the names? I don't remember that.
No,
and I
we
don't know
didn't. We haven't done this
So then
before.
why are we gonna do it?
Because we have a situation here where there's a
Every
potential,
vote is closed.
there's a potential for a court case and otherwise, and there's no reason that we can't. We're not eliminating a court case, we're not doing anything else here. We're merely providing what would be secret information in terms of how the voter voted to whichever parties want. It's not a question, we're not counting anything, but we are identifying what the issue could be should either party in any instance want to raise it. I would be willing not to get to that part in the areas where there were not a close race. Like, I don't know, Woodbridge's helpline, it's a second ward, the only contest on the practical basis is, that would be on here, would be for county commissioners, Democrat and Republican, which was not close, which were done basically to support other groups. So there's nothing here. On this one, I have no problem with that. If you have a situation that is, it's not a problem.
We have rules whether it's close or not. We have rules as to how to handle these things.
True.
And we're making
but we haven't-
decisions not based on the actual numbers that have
Okay, we haven't counted,
occurred.
we haven't done this before. And we haven't opened the ballots. No, we haven't opened the bags before, all right? But we have had a situation where the candidates that there was a close race, they went to court, they had multiple times in court where they then counted the number of ballots, et cetera, not even opening them, and then they got another court order in terms of opening them. I'm just suggesting that where you have a situation that's close, we provide information that is not opening the ballots, not things, but providing the information to avoid, to some extent, at one side, the taxpayers' money on attorney's fees, but then everybody, other money, just for providing this information. That information may be a situation where whoever, one party or the other party may say, it's not enough to do anything, even if it was ours. And they will not do anything, so you don't have a purpose.
Yeah. Tom, just so I'm clear, so there was nothing written by the poll worker on the form that they're supposed to fill out?
They're supposed to fill this out at the
Yeah.
beginning of the day and then,
So there was none of that, and it's not properly sealed?
yes.
Yeah.
And there was no issue with the polling machine that caused these provisionals? Because I know the first, or last election I was on, the differential factor in my mind was there was an issue with the polling machines, and that's why there was like this run on provisions. That's not the case here? Then I'd just make a motion to reject this.
No, I
This,
agree. I'm going to vote to reject in each instance based on what we've done before. I'm merely suggesting that in those areas where there is a practical basis that there's a potential close election, that we go further in providing information but not counting ballots, so that any fights may be avoided by just providing information that is not secret information.
I understand, and my motion is just to reject.
My motion is to reject it. I don't want to write down names. I don't think that the closest
Do
I
you
would
second
go.
my motion?
Sorry.
I made a motion
I
to
second.
reject. Thank you.
Maria, roll call on Woodbridge.
Chairman Engel?
Yeah.
Yes. Commissioner Franklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Katz?
Yes.
Commissioner Moskowitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
No, we just voted to reject the third, and I have no problem with that.
Second day is also Woodbridge Matthew Jago School.
We know what board that's in. Oh, there's no contest. Same issue.
Again, no seals there, but transit or whatever.
And this particular seal would allow someone to put something in or take things out.
And again, here you can only really put ballots in, here you have access to the entire bag.
And it's also does not have the filled out paperwork.
Fill out papers, you don't know who actually.
I would make a motion to reject that one as well.
I'll second that.
Maria?
Yes, I'm Jeff.
Commissioner Franklin?
Yes.
Is hotspot better than
Yes.
Wi-Fi? Commissioner Moskowitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Oh, the J is better.
Scataway?
Mine's a little long. Yeah, that's-
Scataway North Stelton Firehouse?
No.
What this, maybe it says 21 to 30.
That was just, this is what is usually here, the red seal. So again, the seal's here, it should have been in there. It's sealed here properly, but it did not put the seal there for you.
So what does 21 and 30 mean?
21, that was, looks like close enough, that could be, that's by the board. That could be provisionals.
Could be anything, that's just the
That was just the way it said.
Okay, that's what, that
We
was.
didn't, this is the way the bag came
Yeah.
out. So again, this is not us, this is the way it was.
But it is filled out.
It is filled out, but again, the forward.
There was something up there.
You can see here that the two, this is from the last two.
No.
That's here, these are from
Oh,
the
this?
morning. So clearly,
I don't know.
but
Yes.
they didn't put in the red seal, which was
The closing.
clear right there, so the bag, the slot was open.
Yeah.
Second chairman's motion.
Yeah, I'll make a
Is
motion.
there a motion?
I'll make a motion. Scataway,
Stelton.
Stelton.
Or Stelton
Firehouse.
Firehouse.
To reject, and you second it?
No,
Second,
Could I speak on the commissioner's motion?
Beatrice, roll call.
Mayor's a
Wait,
request.
someone,
Can I speak on the commissioner's motion?
yeah.
Well, what I wanted to say was that I thought Commissioner Katz's position was very reasonable, in that, in this case, you have a case where the ballots have come back, they were not properly sealed by the poll workers. So through no fault of their own, provisional ballots properly cast, there is the potential for voters to be disenfranchised as the result of an error of the poll worker. Should the election end up being very close, as it might be, the number of ballots in question where they rejected could be determinative, which would be grounds for contest of the entire election, which I think is something everybody would like to avoid. So Commissioner Katz's original idea that you should see how many are actually in there. So at that point, you can know whether or not they could be determinative to the final outcome of the race. Whether there's sufficient ballots to do so would save everybody a lot of time and effort.
I agree on the part of the comment, part of it, but just to be very clear, in each instance, I'm going to vote to reject. I'm going to vote to reject this.
I understand that you're
I'm
going
going to vote to reject the ballots. My suggestion is, in order to potentially save legal fights and court cases, et cetera, that we just provide information, not opening the ballots themselves, but providing information to the potential opposing parties, so that that may determine that there, whether or not there has to be one. It has to be a case.
Also, I presume these ballots would be preserved if there was a, they're not going to be destroyed. This is all
Correct.
locked away and
Correct.
preserved.
And any one single person,
So you're saying that
Could come down to one vote.
once we rejected it, we did open
I'm not
the
gonna
bag,
take time and start
and
thinking
counted the ballots,
everything.
and gave that count to the, whoever wanted to count.
But that's not part of the vote.
Correct.
That's just part of the
That's
process.
just part of the.
Correct.
Right, so we do,
But there's another,
do that.
something a little past that point, which is also the names of people, those Republicans. But then,
And again, so again, I'm not making a that, we have not done that, we have done the counts.
Yes, the count is
okay,
one
well, the council counts that, but I mean, on a practical basis, if it's a situation where it's close, I think it's appropriate to do that. We're not releasing any further information.
You don't have to convince me.
No, I know, I'm facing this way, I got people all around me, I'm not gonna twirl around and keep doing that.
You can
Because
twirl
you're in
to
front
me
of- it's 'cause you're in
anytime you
front of the
want,
back.
you know how I feel about that. And
I'm
the
not
other
saying,
one,
is it the amount of, if someone is, right.
I'll tell you how it determines.
there's
I've got
another
a
comment.
term in the room here that would not be here if it wasn't close.
I don't have my charger here.
There was a comment from the audience?
Well, we haven't gotten to that yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was another, well, you let him ask a question. You
No,
let this-
I was asking a question. Do we know how many Republican and Democratic ballots are in there?
No.
No, that's my, what,
The question.
It's a very simple question. That's all I was asking. I just wanted to know if we already knew that. Okay, thank you.
Chairman, if I may ask.
Yes.
I'm just trying to understand, so as a general policy and practice, after we reject these, we count them.
Correct.
That's what we've done.
A brief history that since we've had these, we would reject them and then count.
And we count them.
Just a
But
raw
what we have not done is we
And
have
publish
not,
that number.
Never
and
published.
we've published a number, is that correct?
That's what you-
Well, no,
And
it's,
what we have not done, if we've not identified who is Republican or who is Democrat.
well,
That is the extra measure that we're
I don't
asking.
know if we've had that. in the
No,
past.
I don't remember for last year's primary, but we have given like a number, how many provisionals we probably could break down.
And anyone who's part of any particular party could probably, could go look at the record themselves to make that determination, right? That's not,
Look at
it's
which
not
one.
something that we're hiding.
Look at which record.
Who's registered as Republican or Democrat?
I came out of it.
If we
No,
were
but
to
we-
then
but
provide.
What
I
I,
know, I can't do it.
You just need to know the
We've never
margin.
provided the names of
Yeah,
the
you don't need
names.
to name, just need to
Just
know
the
there's 10 Republican and 10 Democrat. And I think that's the gentleman's point, is that if the margin of victory is greater than 10, and there's only 10 that have been rejected, then there's no sense in doing a recount. And I just, as a general matter, I agree, I think that makes a lot of sense. I agree not going through and, grabbing names and all that stuff, that's a different exercise. But
Well, I would add to that that generally on these provisionals that have been rejected thus far, for whatever reason.
I didn't hear
there
your
isn't-
comments, sir.
I was going to say that generally speaking, unless I'm incorrect on these provisionals that have been rejected thus far for whatever reason, including they already voted by mail, they voted twice, et cetera, there is currently in existence a record of the names of those voters. I have that record, so I know it exists. So my question is, in this case, presuming that the commission this evening voted to reject these ballots on the basis of the box not being sealed, what happens next? Is there subsequently a publication of the same information that was on the other provisional ballots, which is to say the name of the voter, the party that they cast the ballot for, their voter identification number, their address, and, rejected as the reason, rejected unsealed box?
You have that for each vote that we discussed already?
But
Yes.
only because, yeah, but you have to
I
say
have,
the
I have
name.
the
You
eight,
have to
I have
say
the eight
ballot.
voters who, already voted by mail in Ward
You have to
3.
say
I have
ballot.
2 that
I
voted
have
on the
no
machine.
problem with that. It's just as a procedural matter, I would think that if we're gonna pass a resolution doing that, that should be separate and apart from the process
I'm
of
not-
rejecting and not. So I'd bring that motion up after we're done with this process.
I agree.
To
I have no
set
problem with
policy
rejecting
as to
that.
how we, publish information going forward.
No, we reject
Right.
it.
And also those ballots will presumably be preserved regardless of what happens
We
here.
do what?
Yes,
These ballots will be preserved regardless of what happens here.
yes. So a motion was made to reject it and second.
Second. Roll call.
Chairman Ivey?
Yes, to reject.
Commissioner Frank?
Yes.
Commissioner Katz?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Dell?
Yes.
I got one more, right?
One more.
There's going to be a lot of trade.
Okay, so this one, this is,
Piscataway Senior Center.
Again, the form was not filled out, the red tape was avoided there, and no seal here, as you can see, provided to the.
So no seals on,
Well,
Not
this seal here, which is underneath the tape, the reason why we put the red tape over is Polar started opening that.
right.
So we put that.
It was a
there as
deterrent.
It was a deterrent. So
So
this is.
one of the poll clerks took it off and put it on here, or someone took it
No,
off here?
they put it, again, you can see on here. It says voided, so they clearly took it off.
Yeah, some person, presumably a poll clerk, took the tape off here, put it on there, didn't sign that, didn't be able to correct.
Motion to reject.
Second.
Roll call, Maria.
Chairman Ivey? Commissioner Frank?
Yes.
Commissioner Katz?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Dell?
Yes.
Thank you.
Maybe now we can remove whatever motion.
Yeah, well, the only question is if we need that, or if we provide that, or automatically if we request it. If we provided the same information on all of these other rejected ballots,
We can
we should be
change
using
the
the same
number and the same information.
And the same thing includes the name of the voter.
We can do that.
Yeah.
If you instruct us to do that.
If that's the same procedure we've done,
No,
then
it's
it's
not the
fine.
same procedure. We have to review each ballot in order to reject it.
No, we
This
reject-
has nothing to
We
do.
rejected the
We
ballots.
rejected all of the ballots.
I
Every
got
ballot
that,
that's in
but
there.
the reason we know the names of these,
They're rejected.
I agree with the rejection. The reason we know the names of these that we viewed today here is because we have to look at the ballot in order to reject it. We're rejecting these for a completely different reason, and I am not comfortable in taking out names and making a whole list of that information. Because that's gonna, I think, disenfranchise more than anything else. And you wouldn't request getting your vote
Poll
counted
clerks
again?
have already disenfranchised every ballot.
So let's not add to it by making a list of names.
That has nothing to do with disenfranchising the voters.
I
It's a question of
believe
providing
Big
information that
comment.
apparently we provide anyway.
We do not provide it anyway, we do it because we have to open the ballot. We do not have to open these or provide the reason. Well, look at them.
Apparently, the procedure is after we do this, we're rejected that.
Count.
Yes.
Count. I have no problem
Linda,
counting.
after this, normal process would be that you would take the provisionals out. You would have to update
We're not
the
counting,
person's
we're
vote
counting the
history.
number of votes.
Yeah, we're gonna research it like we normally would.
Correct. I have no problem counting.
All right, let's sit down.
you all can hear.
It's getting a little out of hand here.
Yeah, I'm just, forgive me, I'm just not sure what the current procedure is, and I was hoping someone
Is there a
can give me
connection?
clarification on what we would
I have a feeling
do
that we
absent
don't have
any
connection. Valerie.
communication from
That's
the
why I
public
wanted
or
that
communication
from-
from us. What would we
No,
do
they
at
don't
this,
have a
at this
connection,
stage?
so The HDMI,
In the past, we've counted the numbers, so we can have a number into the
is it
record.
still in the,
We would then take the ballots, and then staff would then update the voters' history to reflect that their provisional ballot was rejected.
oh,
And so there would
Which
be.
means that would there be public
And that would be,
record.
as part of what was asked, that would be a public, that would be a public record, that would be asked for that.
So I don't really need either a motion or separate policy. Every ballot in there will be taken out, the count of the number of Republican ballots, the number of Democratic ballots will be known. And then thereafter, the names will actually be known because they're being updated on the system.
They are?
Is that correct?
I don't know. That's what's gonna happen?
Yeah, that's how we have to work.
So either party, either if there are potential disputes, both parties can see
In what?
whose vote was not counted because they were in that.
I think if I clarify is that, yes, that information would be available, it's just, again, the timing of it is, usually we just do the count and then we provide names.
Okay,
think
well,
what
I
they're
would
asking for
suggest
now is
that because we have an interest in terms of that we put this as to at least the ballots where we have attorneys that are interested, that we put this towards the beginning
Attorneys
of.
requested this?
No,
So I
It's
don't
okay.
notice
It's-
any
it's not a
interest. You're gonna have a whole other election?
no,
Because you're
we're
gonna
not
say to
having another,
somebody,
we're not
this was
having an
close
election.
enough, let's make sure you know exactly who messed you up because
We've
you had the
already-
ballot in the wrong place.
We've already
That's
established
okay,
that this
Abby.
information is all that I'm suggesting be made available, is all going to be available, it's just a question of how fast. So I'm suggesting that because we have things, that we make it a little faster and provide it. We're not opening the ballots, we're not counting we're not opening the individual ballots and counting anything. We're providing the same information, apparently the same information that we typically provide. And I'm just saying, let's get it done, so that if there is a question, we can possibly resolve it without anyone having to do anything for it. What's the-
Point being, the ballots are rejected.
Yes.
Period.
We agree. We all
Election's
voted-
not gonna be
we all
run
voted-
again,
we all
the numbers
voted-
aren't gonna change again,
we all
the same
voted-
results we
We
have
all
is
voted to
stated.
reject the
The
ballots.
information is available if someone would prefer to have that. I do not need to see any need to make that a rush, or to put it into some kind of specific information. That's my personal opinion. And again, election times are very stressful. If you're running for an election, whatever the result is, when it's determined, that's what you're dealing with for your next round. You're not gonna go back now and knock on 7 doors and say, by the way, let's go and make this a change. The ballot cannot be accepted at this point. They're
We reject
rejected
it.
because
There's
the
no-
action. So again,
There's
I
no
repeat,
question. We voted unanimously to reject the ballots in the provisional ballots that are those unsealed provisional ballot bags. There's no question about that. We all voted for that. We all agree on that. The issue, and apparently at least certain of this information, all of this information that I'm suggesting that the attorneys, some attorneys in some of these elections, I guess in Piscataway, would be interested in having to determine whether it's relevant or not for purposes of
what?
a recount, an election contest, or what have you. And that's all I'm saying.
So we-
It's not something
If
that's
I
the
not.
may,
recount-
if I may, we have always provided information when there's been close elections, if there's questions about, if there's questions about voters. So if that bag has questions, if that's the bag that has questions of voters, we'll get requests from both sides, one side, two sides, whatever, and we'll do our best to give them the information in a fairly efficient period of time. I can't say 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, but because everything that we're doing, it makes sense. We will do that, okay? And they have X amount of days if they want to go to court They have X amount of days.
Yeah.
We're not holding that back, you know,
No.
or they're gonna get a court order to say move faster. We do it in a diligent way,
Yeah.
and we give them the information. I just can't say it's gonna be 1 day or 2 days.
But that's
it.
fine, as long as, I'm just trying to do
The reason I asked was I was just clarifying that, in fact, we do give all the information that
Yes.
was requested.
Yes,
And that's something that we do as part of our process.
yes.
Therefore, a motion
Yeah, we don't need a motion.
to ratify that we need to do that which we already do would be
Not
unnecessary.
necessary. Right,
I would-
I didn't know that.
I would,
Can I
I would
just-
just note that the folks at the Board of Elections have been awfully efficient in terms of getting the information on the provisional ballots, doing their research, finding out, you know, which voters have done what, which voted on the machine, which already voted by mail. They've been absolutely fantastic, and I want to thank the office for their diligence in that. I think maybe we could just ask Mr. Lynch directly, given how many of these ballots they've already done, which is a pretty large number, you know, if the commission were to take no further action on this issue tonight, in the normal course of business, we're talking about 2 bags of ballots, like, I don't know how many's in there, 20, 30? Like, how long would you figure this would take?
I mean, we should be able, I mean, we're just finishing the county provisionals tonight. I think within a day's time, we could probably provide the numbers and the people listed in each ballot.
I think that would satisfy all parties.
Well, give yourselves a
They're quick. They do their
And the
stuff.
point is, the word give is incorrect. I think that it's made available because we have a record of that information, not that we're giving anybody the information. If somebody comes in and requests it, they can have it. Right?
Right.
We'll request
Should I go ready to do the rest of the signatures? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're going to go to public comments. Does anybody from the public have comments? Charlie, 5 minutes.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. Charles Cradaville. I'm from New Brunswick, editor of New Brunswick Today. I wanted to just ask off the bat if there were any major issues with the primary election that, caused problems.
For New Brunswick? For New Brunswick?
Oh, just around the county.
Around the county?
No major.
Well, we had one issue we were touching there, the voter, vote to predict fan. Did you hear about that?
I did,
You did?
yes.
Or you didn't?
I did, yeah, we
Yeah.
received it.
Yeah. What was the
I didn't think it was a major, it was just
A picture was taken illegally inside the poll.
Yeah.
Understood.
And I got a call that the person involved lived right across from Mayor Bush. So this person was a little upset about that.
Got
But
it.
anyway, I wanted to put it on the record.
Thank you. One issue that I've found that seems to be, unfortunately, somewhat prevalent is motor vehicle changing people's party affiliation. So I know at least one person that tried to vote and they'd been deregistered from their party. They called the staff here, and the staff was, very helpful and was able to figure out the cause of it, but it was because they had made some, update to their driver's license, and in the process, been taken out of their party they wanted to vote in, so they had to vote provisionally this time, and I did see, discussion online from other folks who had the same kind of issue. Can anybody tell me if that's been addressed, or are you hearing the same things I'm hearing?
Is that the same issue statewide with the SVRS? Is that
Well, I mean, it's motor vehicles. The only thing I can say is that there's currently legislation working its way through that motor vehicles, when doing party changes, would have to send a notice to the voter that they made a party change.
I thought, maybe I'm wrong, I was under the impression that people could only register to vote at the motor vehicles and then change an address if they change their address.
They can change party as well.
They're allowed to change party, is that part of the law?
Yep.
Yeah, if I understand, originally there was a problem where you had to pick a party if you were doing it on the pin pad at the motor vehicle, where of course, unaffiliated should have been an option. I think that's been resolved, but nevertheless, you know, a number of folks who went to motor vehicle to just conduct business and didn't want to make a change, you know, had a change made to their record. So I wanted to flag that for the board members. I also think that, you know, common sense change that we could all get behind would be allowing voters to bring their mail-in ballot to the polls and put it in the provisional bag so that you don't have to reject perfectly good ballots that, you know, through no fault of their own. I mean, honestly, it just makes sense to be able to do that. And I know that was done for the 2020 election, I believe 2020, but that was undone.
The 2020 election was all voted by mail, literally all voted by mail.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but it seems like something that should be, you know, you should be able to put it in the mail. You should be able to take it to a drop box, but why not also be able to take it to your polling place and just turn it in there? Would make things, you know.
That would be the job of the legislature.
Understood. I hope we can agree on that one. I did hear some reports of, you know, the poll workers not having the materials they needed, or you know, having a shortage of things like extension cords.
Yeah, extension cords are an issue.
Or you know, the forms for reporting the you know, number of ballots cast. Is that something that was widespread, and you know, what's being done to address that? Do you have enough? Was it just not in the right place?
I just heard issues about lack of extension cords.
Two more points I wanted to raise. I do not see a representative of the county clerk's office here today, and I think that's very unfortunate. I know I have fond memories of Elaine Flynn coming to your meetings, and you know, you put the ballots in the machine, you get the count, and then she would announce the results right then and there. And you know, more importantly, be there to hear concerns like mine, and you know, hopefully take them back to her staff and adjust. But we've had you know, I haven't been at every one of your meetings this year, but I haven't seen the county clerk or any representative of the county clerk. So I would just respectfully ask you, Madam Chair, to please again request the county clerk send a representative to these meetings. I don't think it's too much to ask. I know they have a staff that's assigned to elections, and they should be sending someone here. Just again, common sense. I hope we could all agree on that. And then finally, I did want to ask about whether there were any issues identified with the rewarding or redistricting that went down. You know, I know, of course, the Old Bridge election had to be redone because... Sure. This is my last issue, so can I just get another 3 minutes and just... Okay, thank you.
Anybody else here have nothing to say?
I have a brief comment, but I'm happy to let Charlie finish first.
Would you like him to go? Or me?
Yeah, nothing for
That's fine. I'll get... it's okay, I'll get another 3 minutes after.
Bill Irwin, 233 Ellis Parkway, Piscataway, New Jersey. I just wanted to reiterate my thanks to the Board of Elections staff for all of their work in ensuring that every vote is counted in this election. I would make a modest proposal to the commission here tonight, in that we currently have 2 bags of provisionals that have been rejected from Piscataway due to improper sealing. No one here currently knows the number of ballots in either of those bags. They're going to be opened by Board of Election staff, and they're going to go through the whole procedure, and then they're going to let everyone know, as we've already talked about. For the avoidance of any and all doubt, I think it would be in everyone's collective interest, while we are all standing in this room, you know, and documented, that we just open that bag and see how many ballots are in there. We don't need the names right now. We don't even need the parties right now. Just what's the total number of ballots in the bag, so that there's no chance that at some point someone says, well, wait a minute, how do we know that, you know, this, that, or the other didn't happen and a couple ballots went missing or something like that. I think it would just behoove all of us to do that to keep things simple.
A couple of what ballots were missing? Nothing's going to change.
No, I believe that.
Good.
I do.
So I mean, I don't understand what some suggestion
Nonetheless,
would be.
that is the sort of question that gets raised.
These ballots are handled by both parties on our staff.
Understood, and I have complete confidence.
And this
That
is
doesn't,
our
that does, yes, no, I have a lot of confidence in the dedication and accuracy of the staff here. I'm just saying, as an excess of caution, there is literally no harm in what I'm proposing. There is no harm.
Okay.
It can only help,
Help what?
help avoid any confusion.
There's no decision. They were
Confusion.
incorrectly submitted and rejected.
Anybody else from the public? Back, Charlie, 3 minutes.
Thank you. So I know that a lot of folks had their ward changed in Piscataway and other places. Ward and district were changed. And just as someone who does review the voter rolls once in a while, you know, there are errors from time to time. Were there any reports of people getting the wrong ballot mailed to them or showing up and, you know, not being registered in the right district and potentially casting votes in a district other than the one they should be?
No mail-in
On the
ballots.
wards?
No mail-in ballots reported. Did people go to the wrong polling location? And yes, but that's consistent every election. So I think Sharon will do the numbers. It wasn't that many in terms of voted wrong ward.
No.
Okay, good to hear. And yeah, just on those bags of ballots, you know, it's so unfortunate that a poll worker ever could disenfranchise, you know, a dozen or dozens of people. And I know that, you know, an exception was made last time in the Monroe situation, and I do.
There was no exception.
My understanding that the box of ballots was counted after a reconsideration that Commissioner Jallo brought, but maybe I don't understand what I witnessed.
That might be the case, but I believe it was a situation where it's a general election where both parties requested that
Right.
that be done.
Yeah, so
Since everybody that was on the ballot, all parties of interest requested that that be done. I
yeah,
think
but
we-
bottom line, before my time runs out, the point of the seal is to make sure that only you know, ballots that were cast by people who showed up there and filled out a cert are you know, making their way to the board. And I would submit that if, you know, for instance, a location had surveillance cameras on it the whole time and you could see the number of ballots that were put into the bag, and the number that you see on the surveillance matches the number in the bag, I don't so much care if the seal is broken or sealed. You know, I'm just saying there could be a way to save these folks' votes, and I think that in the interest of democracy, you know, the board should reconsider rejecting all the ballots in all the bags that had the seal broken. It's an issue that comes up every time, and it's so just unfortunate, and I think perhaps avoidable. So that's just my suggestion, and I do want to echo what's been said about the staff here. And I know it's so hard, all the calls you must get and all the work you do, and being here having these meetings till late at night. So I thank you all for your service and your work.
Okay. Sharon, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Projector's not working. Will you be able to see the laptop in front of Sharonda for the signature and SPRS?
If we all crowd
Can we
around.
hit the lights?
Sorry.
I can see it.
Well, I can see that.
Thank you. I'm sorry. it's
Mom,
not-
have you seen her?
Yeah, I can see it fine.
Yeah,
This looks nothing like the signature there.
it's a rejection.
I would reject.
I'm gonna go put my phone too.
Apparently, this judge
Does
is
the
saying
public need access to,
it sounds like it's slightly different.
I'm sorry?
does the public need access to
To
do?
see?
Kathy, don't forget the, I'll be back. Tom, the projector's not working.
What's that?
You're gonna look on the laptop.
Same,
Sorry,
same
okay?
last name.
Yep.
You know?
Same last name and same assistant. That's a rejection.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree, the signature looks nothing like.
Amazingly, their signatures got better as opposed to worse, if it's theirs.
Thank you. This goes in the front. One's unaffiliated,
So they're only,
and the rest are gonna be
okay, so we have one to do.
Yeah.
There will be one more.
This one goes.
No,
No
reject.
way, reject.
And it gets cigarette. This one. These are the Provisionals, yeah. The unaffiliated public. It's only talking to me. What would be the one unaffiliated?
they signed with an X. They didn't suddenly learn how to write. And the signature of the sister is this, the first letter of the second word is the same. It's a reject. I should just say reject.
Yes.
Sorry.
One of them you accepted, one of them you didn't accept.
Well,
You think?
Sounds like an admission.
my husband cannot sign ballots. It's,
If you're gonna reject,
yeah.
it's together, what?
Yeah.
Well, these people did get your letters too.
Is that the X thing that's on record?
If they registered it, they can, it's legitimate for a person to register as an X if they can't otherwise sign. But then on their, where everything else they apply for, what they mail, et cetera, they also have to do that.
They have to, yes.
Because that's how they register.
That's okay. Okay.
No, the signatures
Reject.
aren't.
Yeah.
It's a power of attorney.
Where's the, oh, I see the name. And where's the name on?
Shalonda, can you enlarge the signature a little bit?
Well, the sister signed it, it's the same signature.
Oh, yeah, reject.
Oh, okay, it isn't even, I don't know what the person was, it's, all right.
Okay.
The sister signed.
Yes.
The sister's.
Signed your name, the sister signed your sister's name.
Yep.
I didn't see it.
We're on to Dems now. There's 18 signatures, do not match, and one power of attorney.
The power of attorney. Reject.
Reject.
Agreed.
Commissioners, I rejected, one person agreed.
We agree with you, Commissioner.
Unless it-
Thank you.
Unless someone objects after, objects to the
We'll just
application.
move ahead then?
We'll just move
Okay.
ahead. We'll say, wait a minute, let me take a look, we've got it here. Something else.
Yeah, that's not the same.
No.
Oh, no. Reject. I think we're, okay.
Agreed.
No.
No, they
Reject.
just reject.
There's no.
No.
Reject.
Reject.
Maybe he's in a hurry.
All right. You just throw it in there, then it means we've had none.
I thought it was the same item.
No.
No. Reject.
similar to me. I would say that's the same signature,
Yes.
The G,
particularly the E.
That's it.
and E is not,
The K is nothing similar. G.
the G is
Look
not.
at the end of the word. AY.
What is the voter's actual name?
It's not bad.
Got
What's the
lazy
name,
and
Kathy?
trailed off.
What's the voter's name?
Catherine,
Catherine E. Cornegay.
Is a suggestion to accept. Does anybody else feel that?
There's an
I don't
assistant,
know.
there's an assistant?
I don't see it.
yeah.
And how could the sign and name be so close to that? It's-
No, Catherine. You said Catherine, didn't you? That's Catherine.
However you vote, I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't see
One
it.
person does like it.
Who likes Mohammed likes it?
I'm no handwriting expert.
Yeah.
Apparently I'll call to pieces.
Okay, reject. Give him help. He just wants a hot dog. Ooh.
Okay, now that's interesting.
Very nice.
Now think about it.
Good
It's a
work.
reject. I think
Reject.
You think? Come on.
Yeah.
That day, he a little more expansive.
Higher
and-
Olympics.
I can't believe it.
It certainly makes a statement. The original one makes a statement, but what the statement is, I don't know.
Reject.
Okay.
Make sure it's right down, just
I
tell me
have-
that.
yeah, I have- yeah.
Please notice that.
Do you have another?
Paper clip now. Get one so then you get before you go.
Sorry. No. Yeah, the P wasn't great. The middle initial stuff, I don't know, it wasn't great. No, no, look at the first, one is an O and one is an L, isn't it?
But those,
What is a person's name? Yeah, it's not-
those,
Jack.
those J's?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Zakowski.
It's not the same. Not the same.
No?
Jack. Reject.
Reject.
Oh, that's deceased.
Yes, he's deceased. But
So why is
she,
this
the
in-
wife voted on his ballot number.
Okay.
Who made her deceased? Who made her deceased? Because this is the woman that I said she told you that over the phone, but there was nothing in writing. So who made her
Hey, this
deceased?
is New Jersey City.
So, how did you get the notice?
Maybe the one knows afterwards. Received the ballot, is this deceased? Ballot.
I'm gonna find out, I know, but he didn't have anything in writing. So I'm gonna find out, yeah. it's not-
Yeah, then he might have got something, okay.
Because I had just sent the woman the form. Oh, no, you did.
I did. He might have gotten something.
No.
Chris will scan it in.
Okay.
Jack?
Let's see, when your scribbles say.
Oh, no.
Jack, just put it in. Just put it.
What's her name, Mary? I mean, Marta, what's her name?
No?
Nope.
I guess they signed again. Power of attorney.
Want to give that out? Yes.
You can show them that too.
Okay. What is this? That's the
Just
power of
DOA.
attorney.
So
Power of
they
attorney.
received the cure letter, and then the same power of attorney signed the cure letter again.
Oh, you want it?
So this is the cure letter.
It doesn't matter.
You being submission?
Can't find it.
Kristen's got it, you should re-register it in the next.
You go in the wrong part. That's the one that just came in.
Oh, it's,
That's the only one that's on the floor.
When you open it.
oh, so we don't have to look, oh, yeah, we
Just
would
void
vote
it,
for it.
just void it.
Okay.
Signature.
Oh. Should we write void over here? Good time.
You can, yes.
Yeah,
That would be the,
that's it. That.
And Commissioner comments?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I have one comment. Valerie, do you have access to the list of poll workers that you can take care of these letters to? Okay, thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second? Second?
Roll call, Lynn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Katz?
Yes.
Commissioner Moschel?
yes.
Commissioner Joe?
Yes. So no Wednesday, no Wednesday, no Wednesday.